This is a quick primer on a couple of the bridges in Charlottesville. This is the Dairy Road Bridge, and that's 250 bypass underneath. That goes to Best Buy, Kmart, Kroger, Trader Joe's. This bridge has a rating of structurally deficient, and because of that they have downgraded the load on this bridge. And when they do that, they post a sign. And I believe one of the results of that is fire trucks will not use this bridge. But other than that, it's open. Structurally deficient means it needs repair. We'll walk across the bridge and look at something else while we're over here. So this is the bypass. This leads to McIntyre Park, and Charlottesville High School is off in the distance to the left a little bit. This is the pedestrian walkway which was added, and you'll see how it was added in just a minute. And it has already been repaired, minor repairs. And just in case you had trouble placing the bridge, that's the whale tail. So that's an imaginative piece of art which has caught a lot of attention. But now we'll go back on the other side, and I'll go underneath the bridge and I'll show you something interesting. Well, before I go to the other side, since I'm up here, you can take a look at what would be normal maintenance on a bridge. Painting, and this hasn't been done for some time. The maintenance, the infrastructure maintenance on bridges has been neglected, and that's one of the reasons the bridges are being steadily downgraded. They're still repairable, but they need work now. We have 7 in the city with the designation of structurally deficient. This is the underside, and you can see the steel beams, and on top of that goes the reinforced concrete road bed and a wearing surface as well. Railings, guards. But if you were to be on 250 and you were to look up over the roadway, you would see plywood underneath. And that is to protect cars from any pieces of concrete that might fall from the underside. And on this particular bridge, the Dairy Road Bridge, the plywood is underneath the entire, I guess you would call it almost a ceiling of the understructure where the cars travel. One interesting addition is I was on the walkway. That walkway was added years after the original bridge was built by something as simple as this. That pier right there has a footer underneath it, much like a house does. So it goes footer, pier, and then that's what would be called a bearing beam, or the equivalent of what holds the main bridge up. That's reinforced concrete, and that takes the load from the wearing surface, the road bed, steel beams, anything else on top. Plus it takes, that's called dead load, plus it takes the live load, which would be trucks, cars, people. So there are 2 of these pedestals that were added. one on either side of the bridge. And this is important because this is what could be done on the Belmont Bridge. It could be done very easily. So make room for bicycles, pedestrians from the existing structure. And this would be what some people are calling repairing the original bridge with enhancements. It's a very straightforward procedure. So now we'll head to the Belmont Bridge. Boxes, alteration leather store, Spud Nut, Bridge PAI coming around. Behind me what used to be Better Living. So there's a number of businesses down here. This is the bridge that probably 5 or 6 years ago, one side was repaired. But as you can see, the other side was closed off. We'll walk up there in just a second, which was a little odd, because if you can fix one side, why don't you fix the other side? So instead, they put a fence up. And of course, these are the tracks running underneath. The old railroad station that was renovated, became offices, transit station, the pavilion. So to review, there were 7 structural bridges, 7 bridges in Charlottesville that are structurally deficient. This is the Belmont Bridge. Each of the bridges is important. 4 of them go over the 250 bypass. One by Best Buy and Kmart, that one on Emmett Street. One that we just saw at Derry Road. And just had to interrupt because a couple youngsters coming across. Not only traffic does Belmont Bridge take, but a lot of pedestrian and bikes. And there's a Nova. So anyway, the bridges over the 250 bypass are very important. And they're not neighborhood bridges. They do not belong to that neighborhood. And this Belmont Bridge is the same way. It's a major entrance into the city. And it's very important, not just to the businesses, but to the people around here. So, what you see, the difference in the concrete is some of the repairs that were done. Bridges are built for 100 years. They are not built for 40 years, 45 years, but you have to maintain them. No different than your car or your house or your tools. You have to maintain them. And that obviously hasn't been done here. But the big story, I think, is underneath. So let's go down underneath. A side note before we go underneath the bridge. Nowhere is there a weight limitation on this bridge, as there is on the Derry Road Bridge. So fire trucks can travel back and forth freely. And one could assume that that means that the condition of this bridge is not as bad, or is better than the Derry Road Bridge. And now we're under the Belmont Bridge. That's the old train station. And that's the Beck Cohen barn. And that's the underside of the bridge right there. Much longer than Derry Road, but I want you to notice the plywood That's under the sidewalk. And it's the same on the other side. You see a little bit of it up there. But the plywood is under the sidewalks. It is not under the rest of the bridge. So once again, one could assume that the condition under here is not as bad as under the Derry Road Bridge. And there are pictures, at least one picture of a beam, one of the main structural beams, being badly corroded, which is not surprising given the lack of maintenance. But as you can tell, if I do a rough count, 12 beams, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times 12, 84. 84 beams. And that's generally the condition. Now, once again, this is like a footer, and that goes down into the ground. On top of the footer, or the base pedestal, and the base pedestal are the columns. And on top of that is the main bearing beam, reinforced concrete. It's all reinforced concrete. And you can see some spalling. And once again, that's what maintenance takes care of. I'm standing on the little spur of a road that goes into Innova, and that's Water Street over there. I'm going to take a quick jump across the tracks.